Hi, so today I'm going to cover, or attempt to cover, choosing a van, what to think about and what to look for when you're choosing a van. Firstly though, I've got to apologise for my pink appearance because I managed to get burnt on the beach yesterday. It was 29 yesterday, it's been 31 today, and I was reading a book with my glasses on, and it seems the sun has magnified through the glasses and burnt my eyelids and underneath my eyes. Not badly, thank God, but enough. So top tip, be careful when you're reading a book. Oh, so warm. So currently in here it is 35.3 degrees, and I've turned my ceiling fan off so that I can chat to you and you can hear me. I'm a martyr, aren't I? So I thought, as I said before in previous videos, I'm going to start right at the beginning and try and work my way through everything, which was the journey I encountered, I suppose. So I'm no expert by any means. Always do your own due diligence. I'm just giving you my opinion on things, my spin on things. And before I forget, please would you subscribe? Click that button now or you'll forget. And then next to it, the little bell that says notification. If you click on that, you'll get a notification each time to say I've put a new video up. And I know you'd be absolutely devastated to miss one. So first things first. It will obviously depend on your budget as to what sort of van you're getting. I'm going to cover if you're just looking for a van and if you're looking for a van that's ready converted. So if you're just looking for a van, as I say, do your own due diligence. Decide first of all what size van you want. Now, some of that will depend on the layout you're looking for, but you've got to think of other things, such as if you're just going to use it for weekends and holidays, is your drive big enough to put the van on, or is the road outside got a space for you to park the van on? Something to bear in mind. Also to think about is driving it. You know, are you going to be all right driving a van that size? I think most people, I think, I took all right to it. Just careful for a few days, and then it's like throwing a mini around, really. Then there's also what you need to think about is when you're out and about parking it. So mine is 6 metres. It's a Citroen Relay Enterprise L3H2. There are bigger vans in the Citroen range. They go, I think, to L4H3, which is extra long wheelbase. Mine's just the long wheelbase. So if you're really tall, you might look at the H4 height, which would also give you more storage at the top. That's just talking about the van I've got. The reason I chose the van I've got, I wanted one ready converted. It took me 10 months to find what I wanted, and I eventually found one, and a lovely chap in Preston had fitted it all out. He was a cabinet maker and kitchen fitter, and he did a fantastic job, and the layout was just what I wanted, so I was really excited. So obviously it would depend on what you want to fit into the van when you're kitting it out or when you're getting it kitted out by somebody else. And then the other thing, I'm not sure if I've just mentioned because I've forgotten, I think I've got heat exhaustion, is when you're out and about parking it. As I say, I'm 6 metres and I can fit in car parks only if I've got somewhere around the back end to hang my bottom end over or my bum over. So I can get into a space, but there's a good stretch, can't see my hands, but you know, a big bit that's hanging over a grassy patch or the edge of the car park or a curb, etc. So that's something else to bear in mind. The bigger a vehicle, yeah, great, much more room, but also harder to manoeuvre and harder to park. Also, do you want diesel? Do you want petrol? Do you want automatic? From my experience, the automatics seem fairly hard to come by, but I'm sure there are some out there. And think of that really, and reliability. I don't know, I'm only going by what I've heard, but etc. As an example, apparently, I may be wrong, but rumour has it that Ford Transits are known to be quite rusty. Other vehicles, you know, I picked my Citroen Relay Enterprise because the Citroen, the Boxer and the Fiat Ducato are all galvanised bodies, so I thought, okay, that sounds pretty good, that should cut down on the rust. And also a lot of motorhomes are built on those chassis, so obviously the motorhome company have done their due diligence, I'm guessing, so I sort of went along with that really. So once you've done your research on the type of van you want, then obviously start looking at your adverts, Check whether the van you're looking at is a decent price, research the market, get to learn what prices are right, decide whether you're happy to settle on a higher mileage or if you're wanting low mileage, whether you want full service history, which I think is pretty sensible, and everything along that line really. Then of course you obviously would go to view the van. I would take somebody with you personally who knows about vehicles to give it a look over, etc., and see if they can spot anything. Obviously do your test drive and everything else, ask all your questions, ask to see paperwork to support service history, any work that's been carried out on it, etc. Proof of ownership on the well, V5 apparently isn't proof of ownership, but at least ensure that the person selling it and the address matches where you've gone to look at the vehicle. Don't meet somebody in a lay-by somewhere, for goodness sake. Check the mileage on the MOTs, correspond over the years. You can check the MOTs online on the government website. Just have a look and see if there's been any failures, what it is along the way, whether it's shown up again and again, or whether it's been fixed to go through the MOTs, because some are just advisories, some are, you know, do it immediately. And you can also then, as I say, check the mileage and see that that fits in really. Once you've viewed the van, if you decide you're interested in it, personally I would then take an expert with me to go and look at the van, check it all over, ensure that there's nothing horrendous going on behind the scenes, etc. And fingers crossed you found the van you want and you can go ahead and purchase it. And on the purchasing point, it's quite a good idea really. I've learned a lot of this stuff since I bought my van, but it's a good idea if you pay partly on credit card. Apparently the credit card, just double check this, but the credit card company has joint liability if anything goes wrong, as in, I'm guessing, not sure 100%, if it was a fraud, if it was stolen, if it was a misrepresentation and things like that. So just be careful how you pay for it is what I would say, and look into that and do your own due diligence as to what would be a sensible way to pay. So now we're going to go on to if you, I've covered if you're just buying a van. Obviously then you would either convert the van yourself, so hopefully you've done a fair bit of research on that and been on various YouTube channels and got ideas, including hopefully mine later, or you're going to employ somebody to convert it. If you're doing that, again, do your due diligence, look at reviews. Don't look at just the reviews on their website, look at independent reviews. See if you can get recommendations, see if they're happy for you to chat to somebody who's had their vehicle converted by them. So, you know, don't be too quick to part with your money. And also, if you get somebody saying, oh yeah, we'll fit you a fridge and a cooker and blah de blah, that's not, I had this once before when I was looking for one before, and he just sort of said, yeah, there'll be a fridge and a cooker and some cupboards and a bed or whatever. And I thought, hang on a minute. So I said, what's the make of the cooker? What's the make of the fridge? What electrics? And, you know, I wanted to know what I was paying for. And all of a sudden he sort of fell apart at the seams and he was too busy to do the conversion all of a sudden. So don't be frightened to ask questions. Make sure you know exactly what you're getting. Make sure you get it on paper, what they're fitting, the quality of goods that they're fitting, the spec of the stuff that they're fitting. And don't be frightened to go along during the build and say to them, I want to come along and I want to see how it's going. Ask for photographs of the build, ensure that it's getting soundproofed or insulated, and what the electrics are like. And, you know, it's your money you're spending, you're the customer, you stand your ground. Let's move on to if you're looking for a van that's ready converted. So the same applies to everything I've just said about looking at the vehicle. So ensure that your vehicle is sound, because without your vehicle you've got no camper van. And then look at lots of different layouts. Go to showrooms maybe and have a look at everything and try and get some ideas. And then the only best tip I can give is go in a van or in your mind and think, right, let's work my way through the day. So first of all, where am I going to sleep in this van? Again, the reason I chose my van is because I'm 5'10". I can sleep lengthways in my van, and I think I'm not sure the exact measurements, but I can stretch out my head and my toes and touch either end. So I'm guessing a 6-foot person could probably fit in there. But if push comes to shove, I'm going to do an in-depth video on my van, and I'll measure it for you, because it's no good ifs and buts, is there? But so that's something else to think. Where are you going to sleep? Are you going to have a fixed bed? Are you going to, for me it was an absolute no, mess around each day, putting the bed up, making the bedding, make the bed, get everything ready? Once that bed's made, are you then able to access other stuff you may need, like the fridge for a cup of tea, the toilet if you should wish to go, and things like that? So sit in your van and imagine walking around and physically doing this stuff. Not like, oh, wouldn't that be lovely, a little pop down bed, we've got this, we've got that, and when it happens you're like, oh hell, you know, I've got to climb over you and then hang from the rafters to spend a penny during the night. So think about things like that. And also, what do you need? What do you personally need in your van? It might be that you're happy with the very most basic of everything. Fabulous, but what are those basics? So for me, I had to have a fixed bed. There was no, you know, that was what I was having. I also needed lots of storage, because I'm a girly as well as a tomboy, and I love my shoes and my dresses and my makeup and blah blah blah. So I needed space for all that. I am a bit of a hoarder, and I am going to have a clear out because it's just ridiculous. So yeah, think about that. Then are you going to be cooking in the van? Some people don't cook at all in their van. I very rarely cook. I will warm food up, but I don't tend to cook a whole meal, because I don't want my van smelling of cooking. That's just me. So then once you've cooked, you've got to wash up. And obviously the lead up to cooking, is there enough prep space? It's no good if you've got a you know, a worktop that's like 8 inches by 10 inches. How are you going to cope? You know, you've got to prepare your food, you've got to put the plates somewhere to dish up, you've got to put the plates somewhere afterwards to wash up. So think about that. Also your sink. I've seen some beautiful vans with these lovely sinks, you know, I don't know, metal or ceramic, you know, pretty little bowls shaped. Lovely. Try washing up in one. You know, think about it. You've got I don't know, let's say an 8-inch dinner plate. You've got to get it in there to try and wash up. So think of the practicalities as well as how pretty it looks. Also, a fridge. Are you going to want a fridge? I obviously needed a fridge. Got to keep my wine cold. I mean, come on. So mine's a 12-volt fridge. Decide if you want 12-volt, if you want gas, if you want a 3-way, which is 12-volt, gas and mains. So for me, the beauty of the 12-volt is it's just 12-volt. So it runs off of my battery. I leave it running all the time. I have no problems. I've got solar on the roof as well. Again, I'll go into my van another time. But think about what size fridge you would like. I can't remember the litre of my size fridge, but it's not massive, but I cope just about. As long as I can get my wine in and a little bit of food, it's all good. Are you going to want somewhere to relax? So for me, I have a sofa area here, because I didn't want the only place in my van where I could put my feet up and relax to be on my bed. I just did not want that. So I've got like a double sofa here. Yet again, you'll see all this. I don't want to be moving around the van today. For a start, I've been here a couple of days and I've got stuff out, so it looks messy. And I like a tidy van on camera. I like a tidy van most of the time, but it's a little luxury when you don't have to move for a few days to think, I'll just leave that on the side. So that's what I've done. So yeah, where are you going to relax? The other thing is, how many passengers are you going to have? How many seat belts are you going to need? My van had an extra 2 seats when I was purchasing it, but I explained to the chap I would never need them, and he was good as gold and took them out and even replaced the flooring for me, because you could see the seat belt anchor points otherwise. So think about how many seats you want, you know, and if there's more than 2 of you in the van, how are you going to organise the other bed? That's the beauty of this little bench area. You can manoeuvre it around, and you could have a single bed going from here to the side door if you wanted. I don't. So that's something else to think of. Also, when I got this van, it had 3 seats across the front, so a double and a single. Now, being a female travelling on my own, a woman on my own, however you want in this day and age to describe yourself, I'm female, I'm a woman, is what it is. I couldn't, if there was a problem, I could not get from the back to the front of the van to drive away. So that was a big thing for me. So I had my double seats removed and I had a single seat put in, so I can now jump through the middle, drive off if I need to. You can also get swivelling seats. I haven't bothered, there's only me. I suppose if I had the choice of them, I would have had them. But having said that, I do have shoes stored under there, so... Oops. So, yeah, shoes or swivelling seat. Oh, that's probably shoes wins. Also, heating. I imagine you're going to have heating. Diesel heaters seem very popular. Decide, you know, if you're going to have one, where would that be situated? Are you going to have a diesel heater with a separate tank or one that runs off your main tank? I've heard pros and cons for both, but obviously look into that. And if you're getting somebody to fit that, get somebody who is qualified and has got lots of independent reviews, and again, check up yourself. Don't always trust what people tell you, and that's a sad fact. I tend to, if somebody tells me something, I'll then go and Google it and just do a little bit of research myself. One, because they could be lying to me, and two, because they might be mistaken. So it always pays to, you know, check yourself. I've actually got a Truma gas heating system in this van, which is fabulous. I'm a bit belts and braces, so I sometimes think it'd be nice to have a diesel backup heater in case anything went wrong with the gas. And also because the gas on pump, because I've got LPG from underslung tanks, more and more garages are starting not to sell that. So I keep thinking, oh, but again, you know, I'm sort of, well, since October 21, I haven't had one fitted yet, but never say never. Let's talk toilets. Now, I know it can be a ticklish subject, but are you going to have a toilet in your van or not? I can't possibly imagine having a van without a toilet. How on earth? How would you cope? You know, can you go to toilet on demand? Can you go at, you know, 8:30 in the morning when the supermarkets are open, even if you've had a curry the night before? So for me, a toilet was an absolute necessity. If you're going to have a portaloo, where are you going to store that? Think about that. I wanted a shower. That was another stipulation of mine, because I want to be able to, especially after COVID, what happened when everything was shut down, you were stuck, there was nowhere to go. If you weren't self-contained and you weren't in a bubble, you know, how did some poor people cope? So, yeah, I wanted a shower, so I have a shower in my van. You know, think about whether you're going to do that. I'm trying to think what else there is. Lighting, what type of lighting? Obviously you want to keep it all low powered. Are you going to have solar? Do you want off-grid capacity? I want it to be off-grid because I like the fact I can park wherever I want with my little home with me and everything I need, and I love it. I don't personally want to pay for campsites every night. I know they're there to make a living, but for me, if I'm paying for a campsite every night, then I may as well have a mortgage on a house, and I don't want that. I'd rather spend my money on having fun and doing fun things. And then there's the campervan or motorhome debate. Now, I've had both. I did have a motorhome just under 9 metres in another life, and it was a nightmare. Got water ingress, absolute nightmare. So for me, I would never have a motorhome again. I just wouldn't. I like the build of a van. For me, they're a lot stronger. There's way less places for them to leak. Literally just around your skylights or windows. There's no joints or seams and things like that that I'm aware of. So for me, every time it's a camper van. So to round up, whatever you're buying, whether it's a van, a motorhome, a camper van, do your due diligence. Check and double check before you part with your hard-earned cash. Pay for it in the most sensible way that you can. Try and protect yourself. check your MOT stuff, check the V5, check the service history, everything like that. Get a mechanic or a company to, such as, I don't know, I'm just saying names, AA, Green Flag, people like that, RAC, to come and do a check. Or if you've got a garage you use that you trust and know, maybe somebody from there could check it over for you, you know, for a fee. Then think about your layout. Think of your day-to-day movement in there, physically doing stuff. Where would you put this? Where would you put that? Where would you sit to eat? Where would you sleep? Where would you go to the toilet? Where would you relax? Where would you work if you work from your van? How will you light it? How will you heat it? How will you power it? So think of all those things, and then get out there and find the van of your dreams and use it and enjoy it to the fullest. Hope this has helped. Don't forget, subscribe, click the notifications to bing when I put a video up, and hopefully you'll enjoy them all. Bye! And just to add, because I've checked through all my bits of filming, being the amateur I am, I noticed an error there. I said I sleep lengthways in my van. I sleep widthways in my van. So I'm 5'10", I sleep widthways. So sorry for the confusion. I must do better. Bye!